So the way we're going to do this is very simple. About the first hour or so, what we wanted to do was let Dawn give you kind of a background on how she got into real estate and then go over each year as she progressed. That way we can talk about what she did right, knowing what she knows now, what she might have done differently. Because I imagine not everyone in the room is doing $30 million in production.
Oh, no.
So what we want to do is we want to get all you to $30 million in production, so we want to focus on how she got there. So we'll do about an hour of that, and then we're going to take about a 10-minute break, and we're going to finish strong through the rest of the day, and that's really going to be peeling back the curtain of Dawn's business and telling everyone what she's doing today to do it at a very high level. Also, questions. I imagine you guys might have some questions. Tony is going to be able to go around at certain times and say, hey, are there any questions, and he'll give you the mic. Or if you like, you've got your title partner's pad in front of you. You can feel free to write it down. Raise your hand, Tony will come grab it and run up to me, and that way I'll ask the questions. Does that sound fair?
Very
sure.
fair.
Yes.
Right. Without any further ado, we're going to bring Dawn Krause up. Dawn.
Good morning, everybody. I do not have a microphone, so if anybody's having trouble hearing me, please raise your hand and I can get the handheld mic. So first of all, I wanted to say thank you all very, very much. I cannot tell you how humbled I am by all of you guys taking your morning to come and listen to what I have to say. So first of all, big, huge thank you to each and every one of you. Second of all, this morning would not be happening if it were not for Todd Solomon and his group from Paramount Mortgage and Dave Davis and his group from Title Partners. I work a lot with both of those groups, and they are constantly going above and beyond to help myself, my team, our clients that we're working with. And so when they approached me to talk about wanting to add do a value opportunity for the other agents that are out there, it didn't surprise me in the least that they asked me to do that. So huge thank you to all of you guys. What Todd and Dave asked me to do was to talk about the progression of my business, the nuggets of success, what I've done over the last 10, 11 years to get to where we are today. And the first thing that came to my mind is a lot of what got myself and my team to where we are today is the fundamentals. Okay? You're going to hear a lot of themes about the fundamentals as we talk through today. And so what I wanted to do was start by telling you all a story based around the fundamentals. Okay? My husband is a deputy chief for the fire department for Metro West Fire Protection District. And that's a bit further west, out in Wildwood, Ellisville, Baldwin area. Tomorrow, Mike and I will be married 16 years. We've been together for 19 years. And so, thank you. That's a lot of time together. So for over the last 19 years, I've been hearing a lot of stories about, the fire department, that world. And what I wanted to do is kind of take what they do, and then I'm going to translate it a little bit over into what we do on a day-to-day basis, okay? And again, this is based around the fundamentals. When people think of becoming a fireman, when somebody who wants to be a fireman thinks about that, they think about the exciting, cool stuff about, going to a structural fire, putting the fire out, the rescue, all that really cool stuff that Hollywood movies are made off of, okay? Now, in all reality, that just comprises a minute part of what these guys do on a day-to-day basis, okay? There's a lot of preparation that has to happen for those events when the time comes for the fire, the rescue, whatever the case may be. So on a daily basis, what these guys are doing is a lot of the fundamentals, okay? Every day when they come into the firehouse, they are checking the trucks. They're making sure that every piece of equipment that could possibly be used in any crisis scenario is on the truck. They are checking the equipment. They're taking the jaws of life that's used when somebody's trapped in a car to be able to cut them out of the car. They're checking the machine. They're making sure that it works. They have to do all of this because when the time comes, they've got to know it like the back of their hand. They can't be fumbling around and going, oh gosh, where is that piece of equipment? Oh gosh, how does that function? It's got to be very natural to them. So the fundamentals are a day-to-day part of what they do. Secondly, systems. When they come into the firehouse every day, the guys who are getting off duty, they take their gear, they go and they hang it up in their lockers, and then the guys that are coming on, they come and they take their gear and they put it by the door of the truck for that function that they have that day. And they don't just come and throw it on the floor like our kids do with their laundry when they take them off every day. They come and they put the boots where they're supposed to be, they take the gear down, it's all sitting right there perfectly. So when the time comes for a call, they've got to be able to step right in it, pull their gear up, get on the truck and go. Every second counts. They've got systems in place for that. The other thing that comprises a big part of their day is the training. Okay, these guys, a lot of people think of firemen, oh, they're just sitting in their lounge rooms waiting for the next call to come out, right? That is not how it is. These guys are training every single day. they become very, very good at what they do because they're doing it over and over and over again, okay? So that's just setting the stage a little bit for what the real life, what it's really like in the world of a fireman at Metro West where Mike is. Now, what I want to do is rewind the clock about 5 weeks ago to June 2nd, okay? June 2nd, there was a fire that happened, and I'm going to kind of set the stage up for you a little bit here. So Mike's a deputy chief now. At the time the call came out, he was a battalion chief. A battalion chief means that he is the shift commander, okay? So when a call comes out like this, well, it came out, a house was on fire, and an elderly woman was trapped in her bedroom in the back of the home, okay? That's how the fire came out. So everybody knows when this kind of stuff happens, everybody has their roles and responsibilities when they get to the scene, okay? So Mike gets there, and he's one of the first ones on the scene, and he takes command. So he calls Central County and says 3304 command. That just told everybody, hey, Chief Krause is here, he's in command of the situation. Now everybody knows what their role and responsibility is when they get to this fire, unless Mike tells them to do something different. Because his job on the fire is to be big picture. It's to look at everything that's going on. It's to say, okay, this happened, so I know this is going to happen next. It's to assess the situation and guide and direct the guys. Now, when the firefighters get there, one immediately started pulling the hose off the truck. The engineer gets the truck ready to get the water flowing. The captain that was the first one off the truck, it would have been very easy for him to, the door was open to the house because a woman was trapped, right? So the neighbors were trying to save her, but there was so much smoke and so much fire that they couldn't get in to save her. And so the front door was open. It would have been very easy for the guys when they got off to go straight into the house, go to where they thought she may have been, but remember you can't see anything, which is wasting time, and try to find her. However, that's not what's supposed to happen. The training that they've had is when you get to a fire, the first thing that the guys do is they do a 360 of the scene so they can really assess what's going on. Because these guys are so regimented and know exactly what they're supposed to do, as one firefighter's pulling hose, the engineer's getting the truck ready to start pumping the water. The captain started doing his 360. He saw the ladder where the neighbor was trying to save the woman, and he saw her arm hanging out the window. He climbed the ladder, he pulled her out, and he, within 5 minutes and 20 seconds of that call coming out saying there's a fire with a woman trapped, that woman was out of the house and on the front lawn, and she was alive. She lived that day because these guys knew exactly what they were supposed to be doing. They had the fundamentals down, they were trained repeatedly on what they were supposed to be doing, and they had systems that they were supposed to be implementing every day when they get to the firehouse. And all of this unfolded to a woman living that day because everybody knew what they were supposed to be doing. Now, I tell you this story because it's kind of setting the stage that while what we do on a day-to-day basis, guys, it's not life and death. However, it is about the fundamentals and implementing and knowing the fundamentals, making them habits, being well-trained, etc. That can be the difference between our business thriving and dying, okay? So that's why I wanted to take that story and kind of relate it back because the fundamentals are very, very crucial no matter what industry that you're in. So now what we're going to do is kind of pull back the curtain a little bit and get into some more details about that.
Awesome, great job. As Dawn's team leader out in our market center in Chesterfield, I get a chance to work real closely with her. I also get a chance to see people interact with her. And a lot of times I hear, Dawn, you're such a natural. You make it look so easy. You're so good at this. I mean, she does it so well. She's got her scripts and dialogues and everything she does down so well that it just looks effortless. So, Dawn, it would make me think that, from early on you had an interest in getting into real estate and being the top producer you are today. I would imagine college, the whole thing you studied, this was your vision from early on, right?
Not even a little bit. No. My background is I have my undergraduate degree in psychology and a master's degree in professional counseling, and I wanted to be a therapist for a living. So right, exactly, right. So no, that's how I started out. And then when I was finishing my master's degree, right before I finished, I had my daughter. And then when I was finishing my master's, I was also part of that, of course, is starting to do the therapy and doing the clinicals, internship, that sort of thing. So I was doing some counseling in that capacity. When I finished, I continued to do counseling, and then went, wow, these are really bad hours, and this pay really stinks. So instead, I stopped doing the counseling, and I went over to human resources for a hospital system here in St. Louis. And I was doing, over a couple of years, I did recruitment, I did employee relations, I did work comp. And then life happened.
Life changed.
Life changed, that's right. So when my daughter was 14 months old, I found out that I was pregnant. We wanted to have one more child. Found out that I was pregnant, and then a couple of weeks after that, I found out I was having twins. So I was going to have 3 babies in 2 years, and I absolutely freaked out.
How'd you take that?
Yeah, I cried for 2 straight months. I had 3 babies, was going to have 3 babies in 2 years. I knew that I would pretty much be working for daycare, and said, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So my husband, as a fireman, he works 24-hour shifts, but that means he only works 10 days a month. So he's got a lot of time off as well. He had just gotten his real estate license so that he could flip houses. So he said to me, you know what, why don't you go get your real estate license? If you sell 1 house a month, we should be able to be okay. So that's how I kind of shifted gears into the real estate world.
So the goal was, hey, if we just can sell 1 home a month, let in here we in there, if you can sell 1 home a month, we're gonna be good to go.
Right, right.
So you decided to get into it. What was your mindset going into your first year, which was what? What was your first
What
year?
year?
In terms of what year?
I got my license. I was 5-6 months pregnant with my twins. I was supposed to be on bed rest, and I went and sat in real estate school and got my real estate license. So I got that the end of 2011. So my first full year.
2001, right?
I'm sorry, 2001.
The first full year for your notes were 2002, so you can follow.
2002 is my first full year,
Yeah.
correct. That's right.
So you get into it, get licensed,
Yes.
and what was your mindset? What was your approach? What were you thinking, or were you thinking with 3 kids under?
Oh, yeah, well, no, I mean, I wasn't thinking like, I'm gonna build this team and I'm gonna, kill it in real estate. It was survival mode. So I pretty much was just, you know what, you gotta do what you gotta do, go out there and just start hitting it. And basically the way that we got started was with the fire department. Those guys, we were around them all the time. And so Mike and I just started letting them know, hey, Dawn got a real estate license, she's in business now. And we did a lot of social stuff or whatever, and be like, hey, selling houses, who wants me to sell a house for them? Basically, I was asking for the business.
So the key there is you just said, hey, I'm an agent, and if you know anyone looking to buy or sell, give me a call.
Yeah,
That was it, right?
pretty much. I mean, it wasn't quite that cool of a script. It was kind of just like, hey, I'm selling, why'd you call that person? I can do that. So just let it be
Better
known.
one.
Yeah.
So give an idea to everyone, and we'll take a step back in how you did it, but what was your production in your first full year?
4.3 million.
4.3 million. It's not bad. Not bad for just a house a month, right?
Yeah.
What were you seeing were the keys to help you achieve that 4.2 million in your first year? What were the keys?
The key thing, to just keep going. I didn't let any excuses let me not do what I knew had to be done.
You were in
keep
plain
in
sleep,
mind.
right? I mean, you had all sorts of rest, and you were fully charged every day, right?
No, in fact, my husband and I joke, we don't even remember the first 6 months of the twins' life because we were such sleep-deprived maniacs. I was nursing the twins, so I could only be gone to show property long enough before I had to be home for another feeding. So we were going on like no sleep, but there really wasn't an alternative. We had 3 babies to take care of, so we just did it.
So let's talk about that. What was the drive? What drove you? What compelled you to, basically not getting sleep, take care of all the things you had to do, and essentially walk around like this, and still, do a ton of business? What motivated you to do that?
Well, now I know what I call it. It's my big why. I just knew that I had to do this because we had 3 little kids that we had to take care of, and not taking care of them wasn't an option. So it's about that deep driving force that let me take all of the excuses that I could have used. I'm too tired, whatever the case may be, to not go and do it, and just those weren't even an option. So I had a big why.
You had to get it done, right?
Right.
So being busy, sleep deprived, 4.2 million, was it just churn and burn as many deals you can do, or was there a customer service aspect to it?
Oh, thank you, yes. So this has been from the very, very beginning of my business, guys. I mean, this is like unwavering. Any of my team members know the biggest thing that I always stress is customer service. Our business, about 70% of our business comes from referrals from people that we know, past clients. Customer service is number 1. I am psycho crazy about customer service. And the reason being is, especially like when I was starting, if it was a $90,000 house, if it was a $110,000 house, I treated those clients exactly the same way that I would anybody else, because you never know when that person with a $100,000 sale is gonna have a mom with a $500,000 sale. So it's all about treating every client, and other people say, well, this house is just not very much for what you're used to, you may not even want this. And I say, are you kidding me? I love it, I'm excited, I'm pumped up. And I really mean it, because I am excited to help all of my clients, whether it's a little deal, big deal, whatever the case may be. It's all about customer service. So, availability, making sure that even when I was sleep deprived, tired, felt like I couldn't function, I worked my darndest to not convey that to my clients. So they didn't think that they were bothering me, so they didn't think that, that they couldn't talk to me about what their concerns were. So customer service, hugely important.
So keys to the first year, you focus on your sphere of influence. People you
Yes,
know, the
right.
firefighters, that's where your business came from. You did something very difficult. You said, hey, I'm an agent. If you know anyone, we can do business.
Right.
And that worked for you.
Yes.
Focus on customer service.
Yeah.
And not falling asleep while driving down the road.
Right.
Excellent.
Right.
Finishing your
Something else I wanted to talk about there, Ed. So SOI, like I said, we started really with the firefighters, but Mike and I are born and raised in the West County area where we do a lot of our business. So just, not just the firefighters, but just people that we know, and making sure, who doesn't want to talk about real estate, right? So you just talk about it all the time. Now, what I want to tell you guys, for those of you who aren't from here or who don't have, whatever connection you may have, you can find a way to find your niche, okay? If your niche is you love to play, whatever sports, then get into those sort of associations. Find a way to have a connection with people, whatever that may be. So you don't have to be born and raised from here, that sort of thing, to find that connection to build your SOI.
So keys the first year, sphere of influence, asking for the business,
Yeah.
taking the business that comes.
Right.
Whatever, I'll work here, I'll work there, I'm not too good for any of that business.
Right.
And then high level customer service.
Yes, correct.
So you get through the first year, go into the second year, what's your mindset going into the second year?
Whew, wow, okay, money's coming in. I can sell a little bit more than one house a month. Things are going, I'm not really thinking big business, I'm not really thinking team building, that kind of stuff. I'm just doing the day-to-day stuff. Again, still sleep deprived. I still got 3 little kids under the age of 3. It was still, a challenge, but again, same sort of thing. Kept doing it. Second year, we did about $7 million in production. I did not have any team members at that time.
Was your husband helping at that time?
So my husband is licensed. He does what I call sign boy activities, right? So he is not, obviously when he's on duty, he can't be doing real estate stuff. And honestly, he doesn't have the patience to do a lot of what we do. His world is, much more black and white and chain of command and that sort of thing. So it's a little bit different than what we do, obviously. So he helped me with, a little signage here and there, but he didn't really do much in the way of real estate. Yeah.
So it was all you?
A lot of support. A lot of support from family and Mike and that sort of thing, but I didn't have any team members. Correct. Thanks, Patty. Yeah.
Did you do anything different in the second year than you did in the first? Business-wise, expanding your reach in terms of lead generation, any of those things?
It was mainly still SOI, because again, remember, at this point, I really wasn't looking to grow this real estate business. I was just trying to make money to take care of my family. So it was kind of the same concepts. Okay.
How many hours do you think you were doing that second year, and were you doing like Saturdays and Sundays? Was it
Yes.
7 days a week?
Doing 7 days, yeah. Doing 7 days a week, doing long hours. Those hours were all over because I'd be up in the middle of the night feeding and that kind of stuff, taking care of the kids who weren't sleeping, that sort of thing. So I would do work in the middle of the night, that sort of thing. So it's kind of all over the place. Yeah, long hours, yeah.
Did referrals play a role in the second year? At this point, you'd sold some homes, you had some experience with that. Did
Right,
referrals
so
start
second
coming in?
year, and that is a big part to what I attribute the growth there, is that I started seeing the referrals come in. I wasn't obviously seeing repeat business yet, with only being the second year in the business, but I was seeing referrals from those people that I took really good care of the first year.
Why do you think you were getting those referrals? Were you out there asking for them, or were they kind of unsolicited at first?
Some of them were unsolicited, and then I went, wow, that's really cool. Maybe if I ask for it and they're doing this, cumulatively, what could that look like?
So what you start asking?
Start asking, yeah, asking for the business, asking for the referrals.
Anything else second year, $7 million in production, any other highlights or points or any of those type of things?
Nothing really different yet. Starting to get towards the end of that second year, starting to get that, oh my gosh, how much more of this can I do on my own? There's not enough time in the day, starting to get that kind of panic feel.
So you're reaching like, maximum capacity for what you're able to do and still have a life otherwise, right?
Right.
So we're going to the next year, which is 2004, your third year. How'd you do in terms of production there?
Okay, so third year production, I did about 9.5 million.
Cool. Now, were you on your own at this point? Did you start to get some help? What, anything change?
Yeah, started to get some help. That was when I first hired, probably around that 8 million, $7.5, $8 million mark is where I brought on my first team member. And that team member, okay, so I'm gonna tell you, what I was asked to do was to talk about how I got to where I was, and now knowing what I know now, I'm gonna tell you guys what I did, and I'm gonna tell you in hindsight what I should have done, okay? So, the first person that I hired was a, I don't know, free-for-all, I don't even know what to call her.
Catch-all.
Catch-all, exactly. She helped me with some buyers. I was still doing buyers as well. She helped me with some admin. It was kind of just a hodgepodge, whatever I needed at that moment. And the biggest thing was, and I was guilty of this for a very long time, I was hiring out of relief. I wasn't necessarily focusing on picking the right person for what I needed them to do. I was just like freaking out with all of this business, and I just needed help.
Did you hire, as soon as you first thought about, man, I need some help, did you go out and make a hire?
Oh, no. Oh, no, no, no.
Did you?
I waited much longer than what I should have because I thought, I can't afford to do that. I can't take on that financial commitment, and I can still do it all. Oh my gosh, maybe I can't do it all. It was kind of a struggle between myself, like I don't have enough time in the day to be doing all of this, yet I'm not willing to make the commitment for X amount of dollars to hire somebody on to help me. So it was definitely a struggle.
Was there any thought process about, hey, I could hire somebody that, man, they're not as good as me?
Yeah.
My clients don't want to work with someone else, they want to work with me.
Right.
Was that, in your mind at all?
Absolutely. How many of us are guilty going, oh, I'm a control freak. I'm a control freak. I just can't let go of it. Maybe a little bit of ego. Nobody can do it as well as I can. Yeah, that definitely took a big piece in why it took me so long.
So looking back, what would you have done differently in terms of that hire? Would you sooner or later, wouldn't have done it all?
I definitely would have done the hire sooner. I would have been much more defined in what the role of that person was. Having a world-class administrative assistant should be the very first step, because what that would have done was relieved me of the paperwork, that detailed stuff, which I can do, but that's not what I love to do. I'm a people person. I love the relationship. I love the negotiations. I love the competition of that. I love the win. I love all that kind of stuff. That's what pumps me up and builds me up. Not doing paperwork. But the paperwork is crucial, it's critical. But what it did is it took me out of my 20%, if you will. It took me out of my strength zone, that's really the dollar productive activities. And so had I done things the right way, I would have started with a world-class admin who was very, very good and loved doing all that detailed stuff that I didn't love to do, so I could stay focused with the people.
Mark, you have a question?
Your first hire, full-time, part-time, hourly, salary? How did you handle your first hire?
Yeah, great question.
And 7 days a week?
Yeah,
like
first,
you?
you're right. No, first hire was on a transaction basis, and it was.
You paid per closing?
Right, per closing, sorry, thank you. Yes, transaction basis, paid her per closing, and it was kind of, when business is up, like springtime, she worked more for me. When business is down, she didn't. And that's a great question, Mark, because what I realized, in looking back as well, really, I'm a big believer in this, is that I wasn't, the decision to make that hire wasn't necessarily the year-long commitment to X amount of dollars. It was basically kind of like a trial, like, hey, here's what I'm looking to do. If she's doing a good job, business is going to grow, there's going to be more business for her. I wasn't committing myself to potential financial disparity. What I was doing was I would have been giving myself the opportunity to grow more.
Excellent. So let's take a look. So the first 2 years, roughly the first 2 years, you didn't really come out of the gate with a game plan per se, right?
No, not at all.
No game plan. I think the key point that I want to stress here, from looking at it from the third person, is that she didn't necessarily have a plan. She just took action. She took action, and she kind of naturally knew to do the fundamentals, which is, hey, what do we want to do? Let's start with lowest hanging fruit. People know us or know us in positive light, our sphere of influence. That way they already trust us, and we just have to sell them our real estate skills as opposed to us as people, right? Did that, and you just asked for the business.
Take very good care of them.
Take great care of them, and then additional business started coming in. So pretty simple stuff. At 9 million in production, I imagine you started getting in training and figure out how you do things bigger, better, faster. Or no?
Not so much. I didn't have time for training. There wasn't time for it. Are you kidding? I was too busy. I had too many deals to be doing. I had too many proppers to be showing. I was not smart. I did not take advantage of training like I should have. I know that I'm 110% convinced that I could have been further along in my business and my career, et cetera, much earlier on had I focused on training. And I always, guys, here's the fact. We can have reasons and we can have results. We can't have both. We can excuse away all day why we don't need to do something, why we don't want to do something. And at the end of the day, all we're doing is giving excuses to not do it. And when you give yourself excuses to not do something, when you allow that to be your mindset, what you're doing is you're allowing yourself to cheat yourself out of what your potential is. So get rid of the excuses, get rid of the reasons. If you want results, you've got to take action to get those results. So, and I'm a huge believer in training. The last 3 years, I do extensive training. In fact, I'll tell clients, hey, I'm going to be at this seminar. Hey, I'm going to be out of town for this training. Hey, I'm going to be doing this. And they'll be like, seriously? You are doing more training? I'm like, I know. Isn't that awesome? I am doing that for you. Truly, I am doing it for them. I'm doing it so that I can be better at what I do. I'm doing it so I can continue to grow my business. So, I mean, it really is for them. I just have to help them see it that way.
Cool. So third year into it, about $9.5 million in gross commission income. That was around $250,000. Pretty good. If we could just sell a house a month, you could ship a house a month. It's going to be even better. Anything else from that third year you want to point out before we roll for the fourth year?
No, I think we're good.
Cool. Fourth year, 2005, you did $11 million in volume. And tell us a little about that. Were you still had the one individual? Did you hire somebody else? What were the keys to that year?
I had a second individual, so I guess it's probably around that 11 million mark where I hired a second individual, and that person was more of an administrative person. She wasn't out showing property. She was definitely more administrative. Well, she was solely administrative. That was a big help. Took some weight off of my shoulder with all that paperwork stuff. But again, what I realized is, I still needed to get better at letting go of more things. So I had the administrative person, and then I still had the person who she'd worked with buyers some, she worked with sellers some, helping me with the listings. Again, guys, I'm telling you what I did, I'm not telling you what I should have done. In hindsight, what I should have done is having people in their distinct roles and responsibilities. Let's go back to the front story that I talked about with the firemen. When they get to the fire, Mike takes command, the firefighter pulls the hose, the engineer gets the truck going, the captain goes and does the 360 of the house. Everybody has their roles and responsibilities. Think of what would happen, what do you think the end result would have been to that woman had everybody been hodgepodge doing with whatever they wanted to do? Probably wouldn't have turned out so good.
So this fourth year you have this person, is she now per transaction, or are you paying her
She's
salary?
hourly. She's hourly, yeah. She's hourly.
If you would go back, would you hire your first one on a transaction basis, or would you do yearly?
No, my first one should have been this administrative person, and I would still do her hourly. Here's what I would do different though. I would have the mindset of, oh my gosh, I can't afford to hire this person because it's going to cost me $35,000 a year. What I should do is, okay, say what's that? A couple $1,000s a month. Can I make a 90-day commitment to myself and to my business? At worst case scenario, it's going to cost me X amount. Give them 90 days, see how this is going, and then make that further commitment. So looking back, that's how I should have done it.
So in other words, when people are looking to make their first hire, $36,000, let's say about $3,000 a month, you're thinking, man, I just don't know, that's a big commitment. We're going to have somebody, we're going to do $36,000, that's a huge amount of money. You have somebody who's supporting those kind of things, and what a lot of times that does, it keeps us from making that hire. So we just keep trudging along. So all I'm saying is, hey, $3,000 a month,
And really, that first hire,
that's about $9,000.
and really that first hire really probably isn't going to be a $36,000 a month a year hire. It's more going to be probably a $10 to $12 an hour with what you're having them do, because simply just administrative, that sort of thing. So again, it's about really taking down this big picture, chunking it down, and going, okay, can I make the commitment to this and see if that is worth the investment to continue.
Now, do you bring someone on, and then if they don't work out 90 days later, you just kind of get rid of them, or do you tell them up front, hey, this is for a 90 to 100-day period, so
Right.
the expectations set?
Absolutely. Set the expectations, talk about earning the opportunity for continued relationship, and obviously, that's a two-way street. I've got to, earn the trust of that person that I'm going to do what I'm saying I'm doing for them. They've got to earn my respect and my trust as well.
Cool, so in the fourth year, about $11 million in production. What type of questions do you guys have going up to this point? Yes, ma'am.
Were you doing a trial and error on your processes of workflow with your new members, or did you go in knowing this is how I'm gonna handle it, this is how it's gonna get here and here, this is how it's gonna
I was
end up?
flying by the seat of my pants. Are you kidding me?
So in hindsight, would you like to have a system in place prior, or you just?
You know what? In theory, having systems in place prior, that's the great, awesome, mindset, if that can be. However, don't let that stop you. If you don't have those systems in place, don't let that stop you from taking action on what you know you should be doing. The systems can get put into place, okay? Everything doesn't have to be perfectly set up in order for you to take that next step. And sometimes, as that hire, whoever you're bringing on, they can actually help you develop those systems and probably do a little bit better job than what one might be able to do themselves. Right, Sherry?
Yeah.
Good question. Yes, sir.
Does, anyone who does administrative work, just administrative work, do they have to be a licensed realtor?
They don't have to be a licensed realtor, as long as they're not communicating with the clients and those type of things. They can be acting as an agent. First, I'd say check with your broker to get the specific details on that.
I will tell you, it's helpful. Like my assistant Amanda, she is a licensed agent, so it does come in handy when I'm out and about and I need an amendment drawn up or I need something like that. I can call her and she can do something like that because she is licensed. Doesn't have to be. It's helpful though.
My advice on that is, if you want to find a talented individual,
That's right.
number one, you can always get them licensed.
Exactly.
Don't limit yourself with talent because they're not licensed. That doesn't take but a couple $100 and some time,
That's right.
right? Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any marketing tools in place at this time, or were you still just doing, SOI, talking to people and getting referrals?
It was more word of mouth, sending out a few mailers, turn your clock back and, that kind of stuff, just because I thought that that's how one stayed top of mind. Again, we'll talk about that in a little bit, how that mindset shifted. So a little bit, but not a whole lot. It was more sphere of influence.
Okay.
And on that same note, what about advertising? I know that you have the big truck and.
Right. That's a great question, Patty. It was probably about 2000, it was 2004. It's when I got my first big SUV. But 2004 is, I don't know if any of you guys have seen my car that's out there, the rolling billboard, that's right. I don't have the magnets. I have a really nice decal that's on this, each side of the back of my vehicle. And I'll tell you, that is the cheapest, best advertising you could ever get. I want to say it cost me like $250.
That's right.
I had my last car for 3 years. I've had this one for 5. It's the exact same one from when I got the car. And people are like, "You're all over the place. You're so busy." Well, it's because they see me driving everywhere. So that's a great point. Doing a
And the
little.
sign itself is not like actually documentable how, also the
My
actual vehicle itself. Check with your CPA for specific.
Disclaimer on everything.
So let's talk about that real quickly in terms of fundamentals. Lead generation.
Yes.
Nothing happens without lead generation. So we're kind of just going high level. Let's get into it a little bit more. Specific things. What are you doing to generate, $11 million worth of business? And really, you're making great progression year after year. Is that just happening automatically? Or are you focusing, some of your day or all of your day on generating business?
Right, okay. So I was not very good at time blocking and saying, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'm going to do my lead generation. What I was doing, however, was I was always conscious of the conversations that were being had around me, okay? So, who doesn't want to talk about real estate, right? So I became very aware of, well, okay, you're asking me about how the market's doing. Why are you asking about that, Dan? And so kind of turning it around and looking where I could maybe pinpoint who's starting to maybe think about it, and then kind of draw those questions and really get to the heart of that conversation. So I was being aware of the conversations that were going on around me. Back then I did a lot of open houses. And when I did open houses, I'm not even kidding you guys, I picked up at least one hot lead of darn near every open house, sometimes even more than that, off of every open house that I did. And the way that I don't do open houses anymore, but the way that I did that was asking the right questions, really building, rapport building, getting those, getting the meat questions, and then coming from contribution, right? Because when people come into open houses, sometimes they're like, a little bit hesitant to kind of give you their information. However, if you're providing a service to them, if they feel like you're being sincere, they're gonna be more willing to at least give you the email to start the conversation. So, I was
So
doing.
what are some quality questions you'd ask? What are some specific things you say to kind of get in the conversation and start to kind of, you know,
I would start to get personal with them. Are you from here? You know, tell me about, you know, if the kids are there, start talking about the family. I would just start building rapport. And in building rapport, they would kind of relax and then be a little bit more open with what they were, with the conversation we were having.
I know another strategy of yours was the fact that both you and Mike, as you said earlier, from, you know, Wildwood area, born and raised.
Right.
You got your sign in the card, you've got, you know, Mike on the sign as well, so.
Yeah.
So just kind of visibility seemed like it was an important strategy for you, just so people were aware that you're out there doing your thing.
Yeah, and then I would find like inexpensive ways to advertise, like the Ellisville Ballpark. It was like a couple $100, and we had the Kraus team sign on one of the fields. Well, it was a field where all of the you know 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds play. Well, because we're from there, people are like, I saw your name on the billboard or on the sign at the baseball field. So high visibility, low cost. My car, high visibility, low cost. The bad thing is when I rear-ended and totaled a minivan. That was not such good.
Not good
The fireman showed up and said, Dawn, you cannot be driving your billboard into the back of other people's vehicles. I did not suggest that. Okay,
At this point, what percentage was listings versus buyers?
good question. Probably, definitely heavier on the buyers. Definitely heavier
And
on the
what point did
buyers.
that switch? Like, did you start out with more buyers and then after a couple of years?
Totally started off with more buyers. Very buyer heavy for probably the first 5 years of my business. And then you know what? Listings are the growth. They are the vehicle of exponential growth of your business. So really starting to focus on listings is really what helped, one of the things that helped shift the business.
And after our first break, or our own break, we're gonna go into that in greater detail, really get into what she's saying on her presentation and all that good stuff. Very good.
Yeah.
So, $11 million, what about the following year?
Okay, following year.
So let's see, we should be about.
What year are we on? Okay, okay, gotcha. Okay, so the following 3 years, I really,
Skip to page 3, please.
the following 3 years, I really kind of hovered around between that $12 and $14 million mark, okay? And I will tell you guys, that was a major time of frustration for me. And I know I told this story before and people go, ooh, poor you, feeling bummed about 12 to 14 million. The fact of the matter, what bummed me out was I was stuck, right? Whether you're stuck at 2 million, 5 million, or 14 million, when you're stuck, and it's frustrating, right? I thought there are no more minutes in the day. There is no more time. What is it going to take for me to get to the next level? Because in case you haven't seen it by now, I am kind of shifting my focus to business, growth, that sort of thing. I didn't start off that way, but I kind of went, wow, this is a good machine that I got going. Perhaps I should maybe make a career out of this. So I was really starting to think more business-minded, going, what is it going to take to really break through? So that was, I guess, probably 2008 is when I really kind of hit my peak frustration.
So, did you go out and immediately seek answers for that, or did you kind of continue to hit your head on that ceiling for a little while?
Being the stubborn me, I hit my head on the ceiling for a while. And then what I started doing is I met a very smart lady and who started coaching me and started teaching me about some systems and models. And back to our original story, training. I started training, I started learning about things that I could do differently. Here's the deal, guys. Why recreate the wheel?
Right.
Why start over again? There are people who are incredibly successful at what they do and have been willing to share that information and give that to people. So why did I think that I was smarter than all those people who'd been doing it at a really high level for so long? You know, that's a total ego thing. Get over myself, Dawn, right? Stop trying to be the pioneer in how to do the next, latest, and greatest. Go back to the models and systems that are tried and true and start implementing. So that's what I started doing in the middle of 2008. And that year that I started doing that, I had my best year in real estate. So it was really going, okay, gosh, maybe there is a better way to do things. So then.
What's your best year? How much was that?
At that point, that was 18 million.
Okay.
So you could see, that was at the end of 08. So you could see I was kind of stuck around that 12 to 14. started implementing models and systems. Did that for about the last 6 months of 2008. Had my best year at 18 million.
So let's talk about it real quickly. It's a kind of a, I don't know, phenomenon, sort of a simple concept. Basically, everyone's got a certain level of talent in anything they do. Obviously, we're talking about real estate today. So somebody on their natural talent, just what their God-given gifts are, they could do $1 million, and after that, they can't figure out how to do it anymore. Some people can do $5 million. Dawn's limit was right around 11, 12, $13 million, where she started hitting her head on that ceiling saying, I just don't understand. There's no more time in the day. I don't know what else to do. I have no other answers. She hit her limit, right? So she's got a high, her E, her entrepreneur, that's just what comes naturally to us, right? Hers is very high. Some people are 20, 25 million. You look at her like, hold on, how do they do that? I have no idea. At that level, she realized, hey, something's got to change, or I'm not going to get to the next level or get to where I want to go. So that's when she started looking at those models and systems and essentially saying, hey, I need help. I need somebody else who's been there and done that, tell me what to do. And that's when she broke through that ceiling. We're going to get into those details. And then that old ceiling is now the floor, and she's jammed, right? So if you guys are feeling stuck, you got to seek out those models and systems, and that's going to help you get through that ceiling, because otherwise you just keep hitting your head and all you get is a headache.
And to tweak on that, to not only seek the models and systems, but somebody who understands them and can teach you how to learn them, because hold on one second, Mike, to teach you those models and systems, because they can be out there. If you don't really understand what you're looking at or how that's supposed to be operationalized, then again, that can be frustrating. And sometimes if we get too frustrated, we just stop doing something. So ask for help. Find a coach, somebody that what you're looking to do, that you know that they have already done it and are doing it at a high level, and seek them out. Whether that's your broker, whether it's your manager, whether it's somebody in the business that you know and trust, somebody that's doing what you're looking to do, seek that person out and ask them to help you.
Question?
Sorry, Chris.
Did you hire anybody else as you were heading into that 2008 year and you started getting the coaching? And
Me and two other
Just
people.
the two other people?
Yeah, 3 of us.
Okay.
Yep, thanks, Chrissy. Maggie?
That was my.
Oh, okay. Okay. Shel?
Who was the person that helped teach you the model?
The woman sitting to your right. Robin Haynes. Robin was my coach for the. Yeah. Oops, I'm sorry, to your left. Thank you. A little backwards.
You're on the left.
Sorry.
She's in the floor. Mark.
And Dawn, at that time, what was the #1 system that you put in place that made you break through that ceiling?
Okay, system I put in place to make me break through that
Well, the
ceiling.
#1 adjustment in your business
Yeah,
that helps
#1
you,
adjustment.
get to that next level.
Yeah, I think it was really starting to focus on, getting the systems in place for the business. So, when a listing comes in, here's what you do with it. When you start working with a buyer, don't just go out and start showing them 50 houses for 5 months. Start doing buyer consultations. It was about learning how to work with these clients so that I could get them to make decisions faster. And then when the business was coming in, how to funnel that business through the team so that it was more succinct. So I wasn't taking so much time in getting all of that done.
Okay, so the things that were holding you back from succeeding in your business,
Too
you're now
much-
delegating to your administrative help.
Right, exactly.
And
I was
you're also
holding-
looking at
I was-
your own personal daily task and try to streamline how I could make buyers sign a buyer's agency agreement and consult them and to move on faster, make them make a decision on a home in 5 to 7 homes
Right.
versus the old 15 to 20.
Yeah, I mean, it's learning scripts and dialogues, it's learning how to talk with them. Sometimes people don't understand what's stopping them from making a decision. So through a line of questioning, knowing what the right things to ask them, then that is helping them to get off the fence. I mean, it's to their benefit as well. They just don't know what's stopping them. So learning to coach them through that.
Real quick, let's talk about systems for a second. We talk about systems and models, and what was that? To me, a system is something that you do, and it gives you the same result every time. McDonald's, the best hamburger in the United States? Yes or no?
No.
Definitely not, right? However, you can go to the one down the street, you can go to the one in a different state, you can go to Columbia, Missouri, you can get a Royale with cheese in Paris. You're going to get the same product the majority of the time. You get predictable outcome. So in real estate, there are certain things that we do that are basically the same. So what happens is early on, when we're taking listings, typically speaking, we're doing it probably a little bit differently each time. And what Dawn did was basically get systems and say, hey, every time I take a listing, these same events are going to happen. We're gonna have to sign out within a certain period of time. We're gonna be, those type of things. That's what we're talking about systems, right?
Another thing that I did, Matt, that really helped with that as far as the listings is I became very, very proficient with my listing presentation. And I did that by role-playing it, and sometimes that was just me talking to myself in the mirror. But it's about being able to overcome objections, doing the objection handling, and when you do that over and over and over again, then I became very confident in my response, and I knew that people couldn't stump me. So then when I got into the situation and people were throwing stuff at me left and right, and my sellers are throwing this objection, that objection, I could always handle the objection because I practiced it so much and was doing it over and over again. And so becoming very, very good at doing that over and over is what really helped as well in securing those
So
listings.
another way to look at that is you worked on your business.
Yeah.
So working in your business is going out, taking those listing appointments, putting things on the MLS, working in the business. What you did was you took time separate and you practiced and you sharpened your action, or lack of a better term, and figured out how you could do things better.
Right,
And that was when you practiced and, honed into those type of things, right?
absolutely.
Cool. That make a little difference for
It
you?
made a huge difference, huge difference.
Great question, Dave.
David?
I just want to back up for a little bit. Did you, when you got introduced to different models and system and you started learning from others, not just doing it yourself, was there a time where you struggled with accepting those models and accepting those systems, and where you're scratching your, you know what, I've done this amount for such a long time, and this isn't working right away, like you feel like you want this now.
Right.
So was there a time where you're like, you know what, this isn't gonna work out, I'm just gonna go back to my old ways?
When that happened, David, then what I had to do was look in the mirror and go, if there's tried and true and this is working, yet it's not working for me, what am I doing to stop this from working? What are my own, how am I getting in my own way? Because these models and systems have worked in history, so what am I doing? So yes, were there times where I had frustration? Absolutely. So then I had to look in the mirror and go, what am I doing? How am I really not following these systems? Because that really is what was happening.
So you had to develop a trust in the system and the model.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when something would not work out properly with, implementing that model, something wouldn't work out, then I would have to go back and look, okay, was I truly adhering to what that model was? And most of the time, if something wasn't working out, I wasn't adhering to it. Just trying to
So you're
cheat
saying
the
that if
system.
something wasn't working out, it wasn't the system or the model that was introduced to you, but it might have been you?
It was me. That's right. That's right.
At this time, were you with Keller Williams?
I moved over to Keller Williams in January of 2009.
So these were not Keller Williams systems that you had put in place?
They were.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I ask is because as a fairly new agent, you're bombarded with all these people saying, buy my systems, buy my, for
Right.
$199, you can have my system too, and it's like, how do you know?
Here's the thing, let me just say, who's doing over $12 to $15 million by a show of hands in the room today? Okay, we got a nice group there. Here's the thing, the systems that she used to get to this point are very simple, and there's no need to buy or go or do anything.
Right.
It's simple. She started with her sphere of influence. She gave great customer service. She asked for the business and asked for referrals. Is that the system?
Yeah, those are the systems, and learning about them was
That'll
free.
get you
It
to
didn't cost me
$7
anything.
$10 million.
Yeah.
That'll be $1,000.
I owe you.
You take that.
To piggyback off what he just said, you talked about, you took your business to the next level, if I understand you correctly.
Yeah.
It was after you started getting coaching.
Right, after I was getting coaching and implementing the models and systems that my coach was teaching me.
Okay, and at that time, when you were doing the level you were doing, may I ask what coaching cost you a month? I've heard all different things. Okay, $0. Wow, is she free to everyone?
You know what Robin was, is I was looking for help. I needed help. Remember, I had hit my peak of frustration. I needed relief. So she knew what she was doing, and we sat down, we started coaching, I started seeing results, I started trusting. So when I said find somebody who knows what they're doing and ask them for help,
Right.
I didn't really realize that I needed her help until I started seeing results from it, and then I'm like, dang, I wish I would have listened to her earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I was really engaged in what she was doing because I was seeing results, and she was holding me accountable for that.
Sam, we're clear about that. She called you and said about the help, and you said, wow, I'm glad you called. Let's go.
No, God bless her, I blew her off for a long time. I blew her off for a long, long time. And, yeah. I did not have a very open mind, and the only person I was hurting by doing that was myself.
We do things for one of two reasons, to seek pleasure or to avoid pain. And essentially the pain, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't high enough
Right.
at this point to actually stop and want to do anything about it.
Right.
To speak of, right?
Correct.
Outside out.
Yeah.
Real quick, let's, you guys want to put Dawn on the spot a little bit here?
Yes.
We didn't practice this, so hopefully she'll be okay with it.
Okay.
What are the number one challenge you're having in your business right now? Dawn, at this point, doing, 11 to 13, $14 million. Right now, what are the number one challenges you're having in your business that you'd like to ask her, hey, how would you handle this? What would you do here, knowing what you know? Anu,
I have a lot of friends. I have a big ass.
outside voice, Anu.
Tony?
There you go. She's good, she's stand up, she'll be right.
I was just wondering, did you get any setback from friends and family not you're not getting their business, and how did you handle that, or what did you do? Because I run into that every
Sure.
second week.
Absolutely. I mean, there's definitely times where I'll be like, that person listed with who? Why didn't that person call me to sell that house? And when that kind of stuff would happen on you, what I would do is I would own it. And I would say, you know what, I can't be mad. I can't be mad at that person for not listing with me. What didn't I do? Did I not ask them for the business?
I asked for it, so I don't know what's going on. There is some disconnect, and I won't hear it right away. They'll be like, yeah, sure, we'll be in touch with you, and whatever. And the next thing I know, they bought from someone.
Right.
And so that's really pulling me down, because it's like almost like I lose like $1 million buyers and sellers left and right, and I don't even know what I'm doing wrong.
Right. And you know what, guys, we're not gonna get every single person that we know, we're not gonna get every one of their business. And, maybe there's a bigger underlying reason that we're not really sure about, but, if you're asking what I did in those sort of situations, I was constantly asking for the business, a lot of follow-up. Another system, database management system, we're gonna get into that when we talk about the second part of the morning, so that I'm constantly staying in touch with them. I put into my database management system, I put reminders to call and follow up with them. I can't expect, there's some statistic like people forget about you on an average every 16 days unless you're doing things to stay top of mind. And so, and in a weak moment, if their, emotions high, whatever the case may be, they just make a snap decision. So, it's about staying in front of them, constant follow-up. And it's one of those, if you feel like, hey, I am following up, maybe we can have a one-on-one conversation about what does that look like for you, and maybe there's a way to tweak that. Okay?
How do you handle those setbacks? Do you just gracefully move on, or do you?
That's a great question. And it's a really, really good question, you guys, and here's what I do. It would be so much easier to just kick the dirt and go, get that deal. Instead, you know what I do? If it happens where I don't get a listing or somebody doesn't buy with me, you know what I would do? Instead of saying, oh, God, okay, I didn't get it, whatever, I will call and say, Anu, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time that you took to meet with me. And because I'm always looking to grow and have learning opportunities, can you tell me what it is that led you to choose, Jane Doe over me? And I ask them. I can't get better. I can't learn from my mistake. Instead of looking at it as a failure, I look at it as a growth opportunity. I look at that as an opportunity to say, what did I not do right? And a lot of times I can go, oh, yeah, you know what? I definitely could have done this differently. And I own the fact, whatever it was, why they didn't choose me, I own it, and I use that as a learning opportunity.
And when Dawn says the way she looks at that is not as failure, it's an opportunity. What is she talking about there? Mindset. That's her mindset. And what I would say, definitely key in on her mindset, because at the end of the day, from a talent perspective, we're probably all on a pretty similar level. The difference is what's going on between your ears. And that's the mindset of a top producer. It's not a failure. She didn't get crushed, stay in bed for a week or any of those things. It's, hey, you know what? I missed the ball. I'm sorry, I dropped the ball. I want to improve. I'd love to get your business next time. What could I do better? In other words, it's an opportunity to improve. Barbara.
I just was going to say, with my own friends and family, I've had to show that I can succeed independently, and then I earn a business. So I think with friends and family, particularly that audience, you have to make sure that you're talking not just about real estate.
And Barbara, those friends and family that you feel you have to prove that to, how are they going to know that you're having these successes?
Right, you got to let them know, for sure.
Yep.
For sure, but I think that audience needs to know that you don't just care about real estate, that you care about them. It's easier in some ways if you're starting out to to just talk to anybody to get their business, and then once you get a feel for how to.
It's the other way around for me. I was so invested in the relationship that, that it hurts, It
Right.
was like you're from a whole group of friends, when one doesn't buy, then the other one starts questioning, oh, why didn't they go with Anu? And then, it's like, and people keep poking at you like, oh, how come she didn't buy through you? Or how come she didn't get her house through you? And then that makes you more aggravated because you really don't have an answer for that. So,
Sometimes you just have to remember that it's not about you,
Yes.
it's about them.
and that's what I tell myself.
Sometimes that leads you to different paths with different people. Maybe in some ways it was a blessing that you didn't get this. We have to remember that.
Back to the front, Ms. Patty.
It's my goal to do 12 million, and I'm on track to do it, and I, like you, have children. So
Yes.
my question to you would be, how did you do that balancing act without the guilt?
I mastered imbalance. Absolutely mastered it. And that's gonna be it's a great question, Patty. That's gonna be part of the second part of the morning of what we're gonna be talking about. That was a huge deficit in my life. And I have gotten back on track where I am getting more balance in my life. And I'm gonna share with you guys how to get that back. It is so important. My kids were very little when I started this, and a lot of people think, oh, I need to be home, for the little ones, blah blah. My opinion, man, I gotta be there right now. I mean, my twins are 10, my daughter's 12. They're starting to get into that peer pressure stuff. I need to be there. So that's a great question, and I'm gonna talk to you guys about how I got more of that balance back.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Jeannie?
I wanted just to say this, for the ones that are fighting with their, trying to get their family and everything. I'm a lot like Dawn in many ways, and how it began, I don't know. But, so don't count so much if that is your problem on your sphere of influence. I mean, I was a hairdresser, and I got it my first year like I did. But wearing your name tag at the grocery store,
Yes.
putting your car signs on.
That's right.
I mean, people laughed at me my first year and said, oh, you can tell she's a rookie, but you know what, it worked.
Absolutely.
So maybe if you're not real powerful with the people you work with, and I know a lot of people have other jobs and corporate worlds, but keeping yourself a secret is the worst thing you can do.
Perfect. Secret agents in our world, guys, doesn't get us very far. Thank you, Jeannie. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, Rachel.
This is a little bit opposite, but.
Can you grab the microphone?
The only things I talk about, even that.